Ah yes, Honkai Star Rail. I remember the first teaser trailer I saw for this game. My memory is a bit hazy, but I do remember the first trailer just being an animation of the logo. I can't find this teaser trailer anywhere, but that's the most I remembered. No characters, no story, nothing. Just the logo. And even then, I had already made the decision that I will be playing this game. I often tell people that Honkai Star Rail was my first HoYoVerse game, simply because it's just easier and much simpler to say HSR and end it there. In actuality, my first HoYoVerse game was Honkai Impact 3rd. I played HI 3rd way back in the day when HoYoVerse was still called MiHoYo, Tech Otakus Save the World. And I was playing HI 3rd on my Samsung Galaxy S3. Yes, the S3. I can hear you youngins asking me what the hell that is. Especially since we're now at the Samsung Galaxy S25. My, how far we've come. Anyways, back to HI 3rd. I played the hell out of that game, and I was mind blown at the fact that I was playing such a graphically high fidelity action RPG game on my phone. Sure, it wasn't perfect. It would stutter every now and then, and would turn my S3 into a toaster sometimes. I hated touch controls. I still do. And at the time, I wish they would just put the game on the PlayStation Vita. Regardless, HI 3rd was a hell of an experience. I don't remember how far I got, or even the Valkyries I was able to acquire, but I do remember getting pretty far. You see, I no longer have that account. I don't remember what email I used to play the game, and when I had sold my S3 to upgrade my phone, I couldn't transfer my save over to the new one. So I just said, tough, let it go, and moved on with my life. Funny side note, my second HoYo game would have been Genshin Impact, but during the marketing phase leading up to release, HoYo said that they would be putting the game on Nintendo Switch. So I was like, okay, I think I would like to play this game on Switch. Despite having a PC and a PS4 at the time, I waited. And waited. And waited. And now I no longer care. Anyways, I played Genshin Impact last year for a total of 50 days. Then I decided to call it quits after pulling Raiden Mei and her weapon during the rerun. She was the only character I wanted, so as far as I'm concerned, I've done everything I wanted to do in that game. Won the 50-50 and 75-25 for them, and closed the book on Genshin Impact. Oh, one thing real quick. At the time of this video, the current version of Honkai Star Rail is 3.0. So whether you're watching this during this patch or in the future, I just want you to know that I am aware of the current issues and complaints surrounding this version. I don't want to feign ignorance, so I felt it was important to address the community's feelings on the current state of the game. With that said, this video has nothing to do with that. I stopped playing Honkai Star Rail long before version 3.0 due to my own inexperience and incompetence. Just wanted to make that clear. Let's get back into the video. This is the opening scene of the game. I was immediately hooked with its art style and the incredible visuals of the spaceship with a planet in the background. What seemed like a peaceful scene at first, with a mysterious lady playing air violin to the tune of Canon in D, quickly turned to what seemed like an alien invasion. More aliens arrive and the crew of the ship are forced into action. All the while, the mysterious lady still dancing to the sound of the music without a care. But then, the music suddenly stops, and we get our first bit of dialogue.
I think you couldn't have timed it better.
Next, the game tells us who the woman is. Her name is Kafka. We get to experience combat for the first time as Kafka. It's a pretty straightforward turn-based RPG combat system. You have a basic attack, special attack, and an ultimate. This entire segment is basically your tutorial. Then we meet Silverwolf, one of Kafka's partners, and go through more tutorials. Eventually we find the Stellaron and we get to choose our MC, Kylus or Stel. I went with Kylus because his appearance very much reminds me of Yu Narukami from Persona 4, and funnily enough, they're also quite similar personality-wise.
Hey, I thought you'd look good, but not that good. I mean, you still look like little girls, but I'm sure someday when you finally grow up, you'll be pretty hot. Huh? You agree, bro?
Yeah, definitely.
Now I'm really pissed off!
Me too.
Now, I don't want to go too much into detail when it comes to my thoughts about the story. I thought Yoryo 6 was a great time with an epic finale, and it gave me major Star Ocean 3 till the end of time vibes. The Shenzhou Luofu was alright. I think it introduced some great characters, and I like the fact that Kafka was there. But after that, I just couldn't keep up with the story anymore, with it being extremely dialogue heavy with tons of terms, which even had footnotes that I couldn't keep track of. None of them were registering in my brain. The cutscenes were unskippable too, which was egregious. Regardless, I still continued to play all the way up to Penacony. I stopped playing the game shortly after that. Now, I'm going to start getting into the main reasons why I stopped playing Honkai Star Rail. For context, this is important. I had two friends playing this game alongside me. They were far more experienced than me, having played Genshin Impact since release. So going into HSR, they knew exactly what to expect and how to take care of their account. To this day, my favorite character in HSR is Kafka. I knew she was my favorite since the opening of the game, and I knew she was the one I wanted most. So you can imagine my disappointment when I got stuck with Dan Heng and March 7th instead. Anyways, I told my friends that I wanted Kafka and asked if they had any idea when she would come. The only thing they said was that it shouldn't take long and that I should save all of my jades for her if I wanted her. Star Rail's first character was Seela, and after playing her in Yoryo 6, I wanted to get her. But I didn't understand HSR's banner system at the time. I had initially thought that the banner was an increased chance to get the rate up character and nothing more. I assumed that once the banner was over, that Seela would be included in the standard banner with the same rates as the other 5 stars. This was my first mistake. So I played the game with no sense of urgency, and once the banner had ended, I was horrified to find out that she was gone for good. I told my friends that I didn't know that that's how the banner system worked, and they said to just pull her on the rerun. Fair enough, I would eventually do that much later. So I had learned my first lesson: pull on the banner of the character you want before it ends. Next was Jing Yuan. I thought he was an overall cool character. I thought he had a fun fighting style, and his ultimate looked insanely cool.
What you say?
I said, whoever threw that paper, your mom's up.
So I thought about pulling him, but not without consulting my friends first. Will I still be able to get Kafka if I pull Jing Yuan? I asked. Well, if she's on the next banner and you get Jing Yuan now, you will not get Kafka. So for fear of losing Kafka, I let Jing Yuan go. Come version 1.1, we got Luoka and Silverwolf. My friends told me that the likelihood of Kafka coming in version 1.2 is extremely high, and to once again save my jades for her. I really wanted Luoka at the time because my only abundance and preservation units were Natasha and March 7th, and I was getting pretty tired of them. However, I did not skip Silverwolf since she was Kafka's partner and I wanted both of them. Luckily, I managed to win the 50-50 and got Silverwolf. Version 1.2 rolls along and Kafka finally shows up with Blade. Although I wanted Blade just because of how badass he looked, I saved for Kafka. On phase 2 of the patch, I got her and her light cone, winning the 50-50 and 75-25 respectively. My next objective was to pull characters that would work well with Kafka. But before that, I want to rewind a bit and talk about my experience with relics and light cones. I had mentioned earlier that I missed Genshin Impact and that my friends had been playing the game since launch. They knew that the light cone was the weapon and that the relics were the artifacts. I had no such prior knowledge. This was my second mistake. Before version 1.2, I was severely underleveled and the only things I could beat were story-related content. I remember just having to read so much text for the light cone and relics tutorials. The relics had an auto-equip function, so I used that and called it a day. I didn't understand that light cones were essentially weapons, so I just equipped whatever I had, and if the character on the card matched the actual character, then I used that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I consulted my friends once again, and one of them was willing to help me out. We jumped on a Discord call, and I streamed my screen to him. This was before version 1.2, before Kafka. He took a look at my characters, and he was obviously in disbelief. I hadn't farmed any relics, so we made do with what I had. He told me to equip Genius of the Brilliant Stars on Silverwolf and called it a day. That's it, no explanations. Looking back, I get it. He probably didn't want to deal with the disaster which was my account. But I was already extremely frustrated at this point. I don't know why I never thought of doing it before, but this is when I started looking at guides on YouTube. I gravitated towards the guides of Sevi Plays. Her guides were all highly detailed and highly organized. Through Sevi, I learned a lot of the intricacies and nuances of building characters and team building in Star Rail. However, that knowledge came at a price. But first, let's talk about more mistakes I made after pulling Kafka. My next objective was pulling teammates for Kafka. I learned of Black Swan and Acheron making their way into the game. My friends told me that Black Swan will be her best teammate. Fair enough, they work incredibly well together. But Acheron might not. Luckily, she ended up being my Hillary, and even though they are not the best teammates, Kafka certainly still helps Acheron out. I was successful in winning the gambles for both Black Swan and Acheron as well as their respective light cones. However, waiting for them came at a cost, as I was still relying on my friend's advice for pulling. Because of that, I ended up skipping so many characters that I wanted to get. I wanted Fushuan, Jingliu, Huahua, Ruan Mei, Sparkle, and Aventurine. This contributed to my lack of enjoyment of the game. While I was aware that I would not be able to pull all of them, I was hoping that I could at least get one or two of them. Fushuan and Sparkle had some of my favorite designs. This brings us back to relic farming. After pulling Acheron was when I started to despise farming relics in this game. It was also where I started to run out of resources. The fatigue was starting to settle in hard. It became even worse when I started farming relics for Acheron. This is what I meant when I said that the knowledge came with a price. I knew exactly what my characters needed, and it consumed me. Farming was a chore and an absolute pain, with most days being nothing but duds. On days where you happen to get a piece with your preferred main stat and excellent substats, it was more often than not that you'd have to watch all of your rolls roll into the new HP or defense substat. It was disheartening and infuriating. I especially disliked farming for speed boots and ERR ropes. It once took me 4 months of farming to get 1 ERR rope. Eventually, I was so tired of the daily grind, I stopped caring and just put whatever I had on my characters. At this point, I came to realize just how much of a mess my account was. It was beyond saving. Considering how much time and resources it takes to properly build a single character, I couldn't fathom the amount of time needed to build everyone else. And time is a luxury for me because I do have a full-time job with many IRL adult responsibilities. I don't have the time that I would like to have to put this much effort into building these characters. I had also skipped a majority of the roster, so my team building was limited. I felt I was quickly being left behind, building old characters while newer, much stronger characters dropped one by one. Finally, I gave in to my HSR fatigue at version 2.1, and after not having enough J's to pull a Venturine, I officially closed the book on my journey with Honkai Star Rail. Enter Zenless Zone 0. Zenless released in July of 2024. Before the game was released, I was already hooked on its art style, its music, and overall design. They had some of the best animations I had seen in a gacha game. Not to mention, its combat looked stylish and definitely made me feel way cooler than I actually am, even if the TV mode was undeniably a slog. Anyways, knowing that Zenless was a HoYoVerse game, I walked into the game with excitement and enthusiasm, armed with the knowledge of all of the past mistakes I made in Honkai Star Rail. I was determined to make this work. Immediately after unlocking them, I was able to recognize that the W engines were the light cones / weapons, and that the disk drives were the relics / artifacts. I knew to invest only in S-rank disks and to start farming after reaching Internaut level 45. But even then, I knew to invest in the permanent upgrades of my agents first before farming disk drives. On that topic, I don't want to say that Zenless' experience is better than Star Rail, because both games have a mind-numbing tendency to frequently roll HP and defense substats and or get a good piece with good substats only for all of your rolls to roll into HP.
The joy that this delicious composition brings is truly
I will say that it feels easier in Zenless. First off, we gotta talk about the dailies in Zenless. The game respects your time with dailies that you can complete in literal minutes. Open up the video store, receive your scratch card, drink your coffee, spend your battery,
Not one step further!
Ready to try my massage?
Home is where the...
Let me show you. Time to sharpen my claws!
and then you can move on with the rest of your day. I'm incredibly thankful for this. I believe that this short routine provides the illusion that farming in Zenless feels easier, even if it really isn't. Going back to disk drives, completing your sets in Zenless feels like an overall more pleasant experience compared to Star Rail. I think the reason for this is the fact that you can farm all of your disk drives in one place, 4-piece and 2-piece sets, while in Star Rail, the 4-piece set in the form of relics is separate from the 2-piece set in the form of planar spheres. Ornaments. Planar ornaments. That's what I meant to say. Planar ornaments. Relics are farmed at Caverns of Corrosions, and planar spheres are ornaments. Once again, ornaments are farmed in either the simulated or divergent universe. The divergent universe has admittedly made the grind for spheres easier, but I can't erase the memory of that 4-month grind for a single ERR rope from my memory. That whole ordeal has left a bitter taste in my mouth, especially since I am able to get multiple ER discs in Zenless within a week of grinding. When it comes to pulling, I appreciate that Zenless shows you your current pity. No need to track your progress manually. Not that I ever kept track in Star Rail, because, well, I didn't learn about the 50-50, 75-25, and guarantee system until I started playing Zenless.
Why?
Yeah, that whole time playing Star Rail, I had no idea. My friends never told me about that. I learned about that in an average luck gamer video called Complete Beginner Guide to ZZZ.
Pull rates and pity. So if you pull on the limited banner, you have a 50% chance to get the character within the first 90 pulls. Now, if you lose the 50-50, you'll get either a standard S-rank character or a standard S-rank weapon, and that counts as a lost 50-50. But losing the 50-50 means that the next time you pull an S-rank on the limited banner, you'll be guaranteed to get the on-banner character. So right now that's Qingyi, but the guarantee could be saved for any future character. So your bro might say, oh, I lost the 50-50 to Qingyi, so now I'm going to save my guarantee for Caesar. And now that makes sense to you. Congratulations.
And thanks to that knowledge, I was able to properly plan out my pulls, and I also realized that I didn't need to be as frugal as I was with my jades in Star Rail. Looking back, if I had known then what I know now, I think I would have been able to take more risks and probably pull for Fushuan, Huohuo, Ruanmei, and Sparkle, and still have Kafka and get Acheron. I would eventually get Ruanmei on her first rerun though. And that's how my failure in Honkai Star Rail allowed me to thrive in Zenless Zone 0. Right now, I'm currently in the process of rebuilding all of my agents by replacing all of their bad disk drive pieces. Despite the aggravating grind for the best main stats and substats, I'm 1000% happier with my Zenless account than I am with my Star Rail one. It will be a long grind, but once all the pieces fall into place, I hope to bring you more Zenless Zone 0 content. And that's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. It doesn't matter to me if you're a Star Rail or Zenless player, or if you play both games. I, personally, would rather not go back to my Star Rail account. I don't want to start over with a new one either, because I can't skip cutscenes in that game. I am forever grateful for all the painful but valuable lessons that game has taught me. I hope that Zenless continues down its path and continues to get better and better, because I don't want to stop playing this game. With that said, I've been Haku. This is my channel, where we play games for fun, just like it should be. If you liked what you saw, don't forget to get out there, play some video games, and have yourself a grand old time. I'll see you guys in the next one.